Welcome back. I want to thank all my new subscribers. I really appreciate you. Thank you for giving me a chance. We finishing up our book, New World Order. Then we doing 48 Laws of Power, and then we're gonna do trilateralism, which is a secret society within the United States government. And these are books I wanted to read. This is gonna be a real quick video because I gotta go to work as usual. But we're doing chapter 32 and 33, Russian laws. When George Washington, America's first president, left office in 1789, he delivered what was called his farewell address. He spoke of many things, but part of that speech consisted of warning directed to the people of America. Should they ever turn away from basic religious view of mankind, he said, of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. Let it simply be asked, where is the security for prosperity, for reputation, for life, if the sense of religious obligation desert? And let us with caution indulge the supposition that morality can be maintained without religion. Morality cannot be maintained without religion because under Satan's domain, there is no morality. Everything goes. So what's done below is done above, or however it go. And I said it backwards. The president attempted to warn the people that moved away from the concept that God was Father of all mankind and that he endowed his creatures with rights and that governments were created to protect these rights. Facts. There are universal laws, biblical laws. There are nations in the world today that have moved away from religious concept of the creator, and those nations live under totalitarian or dictatorship form of government. One such nation is the Union of the Soviet Socialist Republics, or Russia. In order to ensure that to citizens' freedom of conscience, the church in Russia is separated from the state and the school from the church. That provision in Russian constitution is an exact expression of the philosophy of the New Agers, communists, Masons, and humanists who are working for the same goals as the Russian communists. In addition, Russian law adds some interesting restrictions. Religious associations must be registered with government authorities. This is the reason that private school administrators and fundamentalist preachers in America have objected to licensing their private schools. Communist nations register their churches. Communist nations control their churches through registration. Free nations do not. America is trying to register its churches. The result will be the same. Other Russian laws. Religious association may not give material help to their members, organize for children, young people, and women special prayer or other meeting circles, groups, departments for biblical or literary study, sewing, working, or teaching of religion. Surveillance over the activities of religious associations shall be exercised by the registration agencies. Wow. It is almost as if the New Age humanist communist Masons have written a Russian constitution and its supporting laws. The net result of the Russian constitution and similar laws is that there is no religious freedom. The gulags, the Russian concentration camps, house about 6 million prisoners. It has been estimated that one half of these prisoners, over 3 million people, are there simply because they dare to worship a God in a nation that says it's illegal to worship. So religion in America must be destroyed. Facts. Just as it has been in Russia. The Russians have put their concerns in their writings just as others in America have done so. The program of the Communist International of 1928 says one of the most important tasks of the Cultural Revolution affecting the wide masses is the task of systematically, unswavering combating religion, the opium of the people. The proletarian government must withdraw all state support from the church, which is the agency of the former ruling class. It must prevent all church interference in state organized educational affairs and ruthlessly suppress the counter revolutionary activity of the ecological organizations. The Russian Commission of Education said, "We hate Christians and Christianity. Even the best of them must be considered our worst enemies. Christian love is the obstacle to the development of the revolution. Down with love of one's neighbor. What we want is hate. Only then can we conquer the universe." Wow. Karl Marx said, "Religion is the sign of oppressed creature, the sentiment of a heartless world, as it is the spirit of spiritless conditions. It is the opinion of the people." And the communists have attempted to do exactly that in Russia. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, he said, "In my country, the communist powers took military steps against the Christian faith. Millions of peasants were slaughtered in order to eradicate faith from the very roots of the people. Millions of hours of propaganda time were used in order to burn the faith from the hearts of the children. Despite this, communism has not destroyed the Christian faith. Christianity went through a period of decline but is now growing. The political atheist literature maintains that Marxism continues what Christianity began, that it makes possible what Christianity failed to achieve. But this is a sleight of hand. Socialism is, in fact, absolutely opposed to Christianity. Constant Comby said the movement teaches the law of rebirth or reincarnation. This is basically a teaching that man does not really die, but that he instead is endlessly reborn into new life cycles until such time as he perfects himself sufficiently to qualify for the endless rest. Another departure from traditional Christianity teaching. America is the theory of evolution. This non-scientific science holds that man is nothing more than a higher form of an animal, that he has evolved from a simple one-cell organism. The New Agers have carried the theory of evolution one step further. They believe that certain men have evolved to a higher kind of mankind, that this evolutionary superspecies is one step away of the rest of mankind. The New Agers claim they are the new species, the Homo erectus. The, the remaining of the human species are Homo sapiens. They have evolved by employing mind expansion techniques such as meditation and other techniques. So those who have utilized mind expansion techniques are better off than the rest of mankind. Smarter. Manly P. Hall wrote, "The Christian theory of redemption is unique in that it emphasizes salvation as attainable in spite of the vice rather than because of virtue. In fact, the prime saving virtue for the Christian is acceptance of the divinity of Jesus Christ. That a viewpoint so philosophical, unsound, could have gained so firm a foothold in the number and power of its adherents is more than passing stage. Like all external things, it will simply pass away and be remembered only for which it contributes to the inner realization of its devotees." The humanist said, humanists still believe that traditional theism, especially faith in a prayer hearing God, assumed to love and care for persons, understand their prayers, and to be able to do something about them, is an unproved and outmoded faith. And this is the reason they believe that. We find insufficient evidence for belief in the existence of a supernatural, Since there is no God, man does not have to believe in religion anymore. In fact, we are convinced that time has passed the theism. And to show that those who wish religion to perish are in control of the situation, one has only to look at some of the events in America. The attack on religion in the United States, that's a fact. Ministers are being attacked just as they were in early America. Three, in 1771, three Baptist ministers, all from the same church in Virginia, were arrested in prison for preaching without a government license. Through the able defense of Patrick Henry, the ministers were acquitted, establishing for other ministers their right to preach and conduct such ministries free of governmental interference. Yet 200 years a day, the church was fined $250 a day for once again refusing to obtain a license from the state. This time for failure to obtain a license to operate its educational ministries. An organization formed to fight such cases for the cause is the Coalition for Religious Freedom in Washington, D.C. The last 15 years has seen more religious freedom cases than any time since the American Revolution. The battle lines are being drawn. The new world order is getting closer, baby. It's here now. Okay, chapter 33, the attack on property. The right to private property. Because Agenda 2030, you will own nothing and be happy. You will not own anything but be happy. They coming for that property. They coming for them houses. The right to private property is one of the cornerstones of freedom. Man must be free to acquire, then be allowed to possess property. Benjamin Disraeli, the Prime Minister of England, between 1874 and 1880, reported that the secret societies wanted to destroy the right to own property. Facts, and it's coming in the former land. He wrote, they do not want constitutional government. They want to change the tenure of the land, to drive out the present owners of the soil, and to put an end to egotistical establishments. Mr. Disraeli implied, quite correctly, that it was religious establishments that taught man had the right to private property. It is the church that teaches support for this human right by teaching that one individual has no right to steal from another. This teaching is found in the Old and New Testament. The commandment, thou shalt not steal, in Exodus, let me see. That means that no man has the right to take the property of another. The secret societies that Prime Minister was referring to want to change the tenor, meaning ownership. This means they want to abolish private property. They do. So it is the church that stands in the way. And it's the church that must be destroyed to eliminate mankind's right to private property. The Illuminati also saw the connection between churches and teachings. Adam Weishaupt wrote, the baneful influence of accumulated property was declared an insurmountable obstacle to the happenings of any nations whose chief laws were framed for its protection and increase. Karl Marx wrote, the emancipation of labor demands an equitable distribution of the process of labor. Marx envisioned a government large enough to divide the property among labor, from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs. Those who have the ability to produce must have their property taken away, given to those who have the need for that property. He then continued, the theory of the communist may be summed up in a single sentence, abolition of private property. And the humanists want to participate in the debate about the rights to own private property. In the Humanist Manifesto, the humanists are firmly convinced that existing acquisition and profit motivated society has shown itself to be inadequate, and that a radical change in methods, controls, and motives must be instituted. A socialized cooperative order must be established to the end that the equitable distribution of the means of life be possible. A socialized and cooperative order would be one where the government takes from those who have the ability and gives to those who have the need. This is precisely what Karl Marx advocated. So those who wish to abolish private property have included it in their religion. In America, the attack on private property is subtle. Those who wish to destroy man's right to possess property do not directly identify that as their goal. That is a fact. They conceal their purposes behind other issues, but the end result is the same. The right to private property is being eroded. Another method that attackers use to destroy private property is inflation, printing money. This tool takes an ever-increasing percentage of the earnings of the working class. Inflation, as has already been discussed in the study, is defined as the increase in the money supply resulting in the rise of the prices. Okay. Therefore, the business cycle is caused by those who control the money supply. And the purpose of the business cycle is to take property from some and give it to others. Those who know what course the money supply is going to take are certainly able to take advantage of prior knowledge and can make exuberant profits. Facts. So, inflation is a method of depriving some people of their private property without their knowledge. That means that those who cause inflation can also prevent it. The controller of the money supply in the United States is the privately owned Federal Reserve. Yes, owned, operated by the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. And their purpose is to use this ability to cause business cycles through inflation and deflation, to destroy the right of the people to own private property, but few in America understand that that is their purpose. So the plunder continues, and the God given, inalienable, self evident right to private property continues to be slowly eroded, just like Karl Marx and the humanists and the Illuminati warned. All right, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Be done with our first video.